It's difficult to choose a top 10, rats and mongoose on the list. I think one reason that rats in particular are on the list is that they are everywhere. They're around our buildings, around our homes, but they're also very plentiful in the forests, and they're doing their impacts there. They're eating seeds, they're eating bird eggs, young birds.
Hawaii's third annual Invasive Species Awareness Day at the state capitol begins with a round of live interviews on morning television shows.
Thank you. There are native seaweeds in Hawaii's waters. There are some that have been brought by boats from other parts of the world. And some of those get into our waters and they love our environment here in Hawaii and they spread. So a great example is in Kaneohe Bay. There's an invasive algae called Kappa-ficus.
Then a news conference with two of the people who lead invasive species eradication efforts in Hawaii.
I think we fail on this issue with risk communications. The analogy that I would use is climate change. In failing to make the public truly understand what it is we're looking at and why it's important. I understand that, and I believe the governor is with me now in understanding that. And so I think in this administration, we will move forward. And I think you'll be pleased with the initiatives that are going to be coming out over the course of this year.
This is a closing ceremony. In years past, we've done an opening ceremony for the week. So it's a little odd to stand up here and say that the events for Invasive Species Awareness Week have actually just passed. But we had some great volunteer events on Kauai, on Oahu, and Hawaii Island for people to get out into the forest, pull some weeds. We had educational talks on Oahu, some great media coverage. And so hopefully we've reached a few new people to talk about the ways invasive species impact our state.
You're fine. You can walk in front of the camera anytime. Up next, an invasive species awareness fair featuring student art, essays, and informational booths.
We find ourselves here in Hawaii among a globalized network of travel and trade, with thousands and thousands of new plants and animals living amongst us.
Hawaii Governor David Ige then recognized the work of the hundreds of men and women on the front lines of attacking invasive species on land and in the ocean.
The public plays such an important role in this fight against invasive species by reporting species to the state via the 643 PEST hotline and other means. In the past year alone, the public has reported beetles from their yards, most of which turned out not to be the rhinoceros beetle, little fire ants from their workplaces, and even giant coconut crabs walking down Salt Lake Boulevard.
6 people and 5 organizations or businesses were then honored with Invasive Species Achievement Awards for their tireless efforts.
On behalf of the Hawaii State Legislature, on behalf of everybody here today, I really want to present you with this award. Among others.
The continuing theme for the people fighting invasive species is invasive species are everyone's kuleana.
The message that I would like the public to hear is that though they continue to hear how detrimental invasive species are, and it seems like every year there's new species coming in, is the public has the ability to help control invasive species and help the state agencies, the federal agencies respond. There's a variety of volunteer projects on the weekends where the public can go out and do active invasive species control.
I think I'd like people to know just how dramatic the impacts of invasive species can be. I think a lot of people hear about the issue of invasive species and they think, well, there are a lot of species that we've brought to Hawaii from other places. What's the difference if we have one more plant species, one more insect here in Hawaii? And very often, a species that we bring in might not have a large negative impact, but just one species that really spreads out of its range and goes into people's homes or into our native forests can have huge impacts on Hawaii in terms of our ability to have fresh drinking water, or if it's something that impacts our agriculture to grow our own food, or if it's something that invades our homes, then it's really invading and impacting our quality of life.
Well, I think in Hawaii we're pretty lucky because most people understand invasive species, and a lot of people don't want them here. So we're already one step ahead. One of the most important things that we want people to do, though, is to watch out for those pests that sneak in. Some people really aren't that supportive, and they bring in things like snakes. Other pests arrive accidentally. So one of the best things people can do is if you see something suspicious or you see a snake, call the pest hotline. That's 643-PEST, 643-7378.
Thank you so much.